Holy moly, I can't believe this.
The SWAT team's activated in Billings as a man barricades himself in his home. We'll have details. And dino discoveries.
We have very few of these iconic dinosaurs that reside in our area where they came from, and that's why we started this campaign to bring them home.
Two museums joined together as they push to bring popular fossils back home. MTN 430 News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger. Our top story, another active morning for Billings police as an assault with a weapon call quickly turned into a 3-hour standoff with the suspect barricaded inside his home. According to Lieutenant Matt Lennick, officers originally responded to the house right around 9 o'clock in the 800 block of Lewis Avenue. When arriving on scene, the suspect barricaded himself in the home, requiring SWAT teams to be engaged. Community service officers helped block off the area as officers worked to get the suspect to cooperate. During the incident, the suspect's co-worker, Mike Otto, came to the house hoping to pick him up for work, only to find the scene. Otto says, well, he's concerned about his co-worker. Unfortunately, he's not surprised this took place.
I didn't understand that all the cops were here, the situation that we were dealing with. The only person that can help him is himself. And we've done all the work that we could to possibly help him, and unfortunately, he just went down the wrong path. It just scares me that either he's doing something dramatic or stupid.
Police were able to finally arrest the suspect around noon without incident. The suspect's name has not been released. A Lodgegrass man has been found dead just outside of town. 37-year-old Shan Nami had last been seen around 10:30 Saturday night hitchhiking from Lodgegrass to his mother's home where he lives about 2 miles north of town along Highway 87. Search parties have been out the last few days, and Nami's uncle, Cedric Black Eagle, says law enforcement called him around midnight to inform him that they had found the body. Black Eagle says authorities continue to investigate to determine how Nami died. A fire in Edgar destroyed a family home yesterday, leaving 2 animals, a dog and a cat, dead, and the family in grief. Those flames rapidly spread throughout the house, with high winds making it difficult for firefighters to contain. Fortunately, everyone was able to escape without injury, but the news has hit the community hard, with the wardens well known in that area. The family of 8 has several kids at Fromberg schools, with one of the sons working at the Edgar bar. Now, with the family dealing with heartbreak and devastation, the community is looking to rally behind them, helping in any way they can.
School has decided to do gift cards to different things or different businesses, and that is being led by 2 staff members here in the school. Then I believe also the Tomahawk donated part of their proceeds last night.
Tomorrow night we're going to have a benefit for them. We're going to do a pot roast dinner, pot roast, mashed potatoes, corn, and a salad for $25 a plate.
Fire crews from Edgar, Fromberg, Bridger, and Joliet all responded to that fire. Fire remains under investigation. Meanwhile, a fire in Lockwood destroyed a barn last night. Billings and Lockwood fire departments all responded to that fire, helping put the flames out. It's unknown how that fire began, but the barn appears to be a complete loss. And now we turn to the weather front, where some snow has already arrived in many areas and more is expected over the next day. With the latest on this latest winter storm, here's meteorologist Jason Stiff. Jason?
Yeah, we had a little bit of light snow earlier today, a brief break, and now more is coming our way. You can see on the radar a little bit of snow between Glasgow and Billings. Most of it is over the northwestern quarter of Montana. That's all moving toward the south and the east. So I'm currently keeping my eyes on another round of snow overnight tonight. It's going to be blowing tomorrow morning. We'll have colder air too, even colder lows by Friday morning when this first batch of snow moves out of the way. I'm going to let you know how cold it's going to get and if we have any recovery coming in my complete 7-day forecast in just a few.
Congress is working on a short-term spending bill this evening called a continuing resolution, which will keep the government open until March. Now, they hope to pass that while also working on a long-term bill worth nearly $1.6 trillion. And there's little time to get it done. Skylar Henry has more details from Capitol Hill.
The Senate cleared the first hurdle in its efforts to avoid a partial federal government shutdown on Friday.
Time is of the essence. If we don't act soon, the government will run out of funding at midnight this Friday, January 19th. Just a few days away.
The temporary bills will allow congressional negotiators to continue work on a long-term deal.
Shutting down the government, even part of it, would interrupt this important progress.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Speaker Mike Johnson reached a deal over the weekend that caps the amount of money to be spent in the long-term spending bill. But many House Republicans say they're not happy with the deal.
Will you support the CR?
No. Secure the border, we can discuss funding.
Despite the pushback from some on the right, House leadership is confident it can pass the bill.
But it's clear that a very substantial majority does not want to shut down the government. It's also clear that I think all of our Democratic colleagues essentially don't want to shut down the government. So I think it's very unlikely we'll shut down the government.
But with a narrow majority in the House, Republicans will need support from House Democrats to pass the bill. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And some lawmakers are hoping to put extra money in parents' pockets. A bipartisan group of legislators announced a $78 billion agreement that would expand the child tax credit. The new deal would boost the refundable portion of the credit people can claim. It would also let low-income families with multiple children receive more benefits. The framework also includes a series of business tax breaks, making it a win for both Republicans and Democrats. Lawmakers hope to pass the package before the start of the tax season. Fresh off the Iowa caucuses, the Republican presidential candidates are hitting the ground hard in New Hampshire as voters there are set to make their picks at the ballot box next week. Stephanie Liebergen is in the Granite State with more on what makes this contest in New Hampshire so unique.
Here in New Hampshire, we have less than a week until the first in the nation primary. And after former President Trump's commanding win in Iowa, the nation will be watching to see if he can win again with a different set of voters.
In New Hampshire, voters take their first in the nation primary status seriously. But the demographics in the Granite State are different from Iowa.
For Republicans, the big difference is that New Hampshire Republicans are much less religious. In Iowa, the name of the game is, can you turn out evangelical Christians? In New Hampshire, that demographic is far smaller than it is out there.
Nikki Haley has been hoping to capitalize on that difference. Even before Monday's caucuses in Iowa, she's been campaigning heavily all across New Hampshire. And for the past few weeks, she's been closing that polling gap with Trump.
She's also made a really strong play for what's left of the Republican establishment in this state. The folks who were much more likely to vote for a John McCain or a Mitt Romney than a Donald Trump. And as the field's gotten smaller, she's really been the last candidate standing who can appeal to those sorts of folks.
While Florida Governor Ron DeSantis had the endorsement of Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, Haley got the endorsement from New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu.
She's surging. She's the only one with momentum, the only one, when you talk about poll numbers moving, she's the only one across America anyone's talking about right now because folks are galvanizing around that, which was always the goal.
Trump easily won Iowa with over 50% of the vote. The other candidates hoping to present themselves as a top Trump alternative need to have a good performance in New Hampshire. And winning one of the two early states is a good omen for any candidate. In the last 50 years, no Republican has gone on to win the party's nomination without winning either Iowa or New Hampshire.
Democrats are also voting in next week's primary, but because New Hampshire is breaking with the DNC's new primary calendar, President Biden will not be on the ballot. Instead, Democrats have been mounting a write-in effort in the hopes of still giving the president a win next week. Stephanie Liebergen, Scripps News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
Well, you don't have to be a kid to love dinosaurs. From T-Rexes to Triceratops, Montana and Wyoming have both been home to significant dinosaur discoveries, fossils that now live in some of the world's largest museums. But as MTN's Jackie Coffin tells us, there's a growing effort from one small Wyoming town to bring some of these fossils home to where they've been discovered and show them off for all to see.
Welcome to Graybull, Wyoming, a town of less than 2,000 people in the Bighorn Basin, which itself is a hub of paleontological activity. And while the town might only have one stoplight, the museums are coming together to make Graybull a world-class destination for dinosaur lovers.
It only takes a few minutes to drive through Graybull. But drive across town and you're passing by millions of years of history. So much history that not one but 2 museums downtown are full beyond capacity.
All of those cupboards are filled with more.
This is the Graybull Museum.
We've had a museum here for about 57 years.
Which showcases human history on the landscape.
We have old history things, old irons, and lots of World War I and World War II things.
So this is probably about how Graybull would have looked in those days.
1 block away sits the Bighorn Basin Dinosaur and Geoscience Museum. This one shows some of the biggest findings of the Jurassic period found right in this area.
We have some of the most iconic ones and some of the most complete ones.
But amidst all this old history, a new idea has hatched.
Clear back in last January, we were talking about we need more room.
The 2 museums are now planning a merger on the Graybull Museum's campus. That includes a 3,000 square foot expansion for a new dinosaur wing. That would house dinosaur fossils with global significance found in the Bighorn Basin.
We have very few of these iconic dinosaurs that reside in our area where they came from, and that's why we started this campaign to bring them home.
Including a Stegosaurus currently on display in the London Museum of Natural History to the world's only model of an allosaur laying eggs. That's a fossil casting that the team just learned they can bring back.
With the history of the digs, the quarries, maps of the things that are accessible so people can recreate, take the hikes, and explore it.
To drive that point home, Qualley and O'Neill are taking me outside of the museum into the hills outside of Graybull.
We were so surprised to see these dinosaur tracks.
The Red Gulch Dinosaur Track Site is one of the few places worldwide where you can walk in the footsteps of dinosaurs.
Left, right.
Dr. Qualley has walked these footsteps many times.
Right. It is.
He was the one who discovered the track site in 1997.
It's just like these animals walked here yesterday, except the whole thing has been lithified and turned into rock.
Though Dr. Qualley will tell you it was more that he saw this site for what it was, and that people have been recognizing these tracks as something special.
We find this type of motif all through this area here.
Long before they were connected to dinosaurs.
This is sort of the indication that, yes, the Indians in this area probably recognized these dinosaur tracks centuries before we did.
Showing that when people think of dinosaurs, they have been thinking of Graybull for a long time. In Graybull, Jackie Coffin, MTN News.
Still to come on the MTN 430 News here on Q2, Montana's mule deer population is a focus for fish, wildlife, and parks right now. We'll tell you why and how you could be of help. That story in just a bit. But up next, from cold to snow, another winter storm hitting Montana. Meteorologist Jason Stiff will have the latest on what to expect right after the break.